Thank you. It's a hard act to follow. I'm not going to sing and dance. Sorry about that. But I'm here to represent a little bit different of the research side behind the community gardens and school garden programs. We have a large Texas Sprouts project that was funded by the National Institute of Health. It just wrapped up right before the pandemic, which we were really lucky. And it's to test the effects of a one-year school-based gardening and nutrition program on improving health, specifically dietary intake in 3rd through 5th grade families, children and their families in schools. So this was a project. It was a randomized controlled trial, and that means that 8 schools were randomized to receive the Texas Sprouts intervention versus 8 schools that got a control group. They got a delayed intervention, so after the testing. An edible school garden was built in each school, and it was around $5,000 and anywhere between a quarter to a half acre. So they were fairly small gardens. They had an outdoor teaching area with vegetable beds and native garden beds. And we provided the educators to teach 18 in-school gardening, cooking, and nutrition lessons. And we taught them to all 3rd through 5th graders, even if they weren't in the study. They still got the program as part of their school day. We also taught 9 parent and family lessons on the weekends or before school or after school that paralleled the student lessons. And we did questionnaires. We did a whole bunch of measures, including blood samples, so I'll be presenting on some of that work tomorrow. But we did questionnaires to assess the effects of the garden on health parameters. And every lesson included a cooking or a taste test, and this was a lot of times took up most of the lesson. We did we did lessons like broccoli quesadillas, we did stir fries, the ultimate sandwiches, salads, the fruit rainbow, but every lesson had a pretty in-depth cooking component. And we also had an aguas frescas, and a lot of my earlier work has actually shown that decreasing sugar-sweetened beverages is key to improving health in children. And so every lesson had an aguas fresca that we a lot of times made from fresh herbs and vegetables in the garden. And it was usually just an infused water. But that was key. You can see we set up tables, and kids cooked every single time. They got really used to when they went out to the garden and they wanted to eat everything. And so we had to train them on what they could and couldn't eat, right? And what we found, and you can read all about this, we have several publications that have this out, but we did find, like many studies, that we saw a big improvement in vegetable intake, about a half a serving a day. And we're now looking at some of the other effects, but we did also see that the intervention resulted in improved academic performance, and I know that that's been a big topic today, as well as glucose control. So we did blood samples in these kids, and it's one of the first studies to show that a garden-based program can improve metabolic disease or decrease metabolic disease risk. But I have a student now that's a postdoc at NYU, and she actually was really interested in, let's look at what behaviors were linked to improvements in vegetable intake. And really, the biggest predictor we saw was cooking self-efficacy. It mediated the improvements in vegetable intake more than any other parameter. So this is huge because many times when we think about scaling and growing our programs, teachers are delivering it, and it's hard sometimes to make sure that the cooking piece is kept. But I'm here to tell you that that is actually probably the key piece that needs to be retained. That kids really need to plant the seed, grow it, and then put it in their mouth. They need to taste it to be able to change behavior. So just a big plug out there. I know many of you guys use cooking and tasting in your programs. The research is actually showing that that is key to retain, to be able to see improvements in vegetable intake and improvements in health. So that is it. Thank you. One plug, you can go to the Eden Lab and you can fill out our survey, and you actually get a scorecard back, so you'll get the immediate results. So please check out our website and fill that out.